Hey, what is going on everybody? It is Rob, aka The Diligent Dev, and after a long break, I decided to shoot some more YouTube videos. So in this video, what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a cryptocurrency app, and we're gonna be able to create our web app and our mobile apps at the exact same time, utilizing Quasar and Vue.js. So without any further ado, let's jump over to the computer and get right into it. Okay, so since this tutorial is an hour long, I thought I'd show you exactly what we're going to be building. So on the right-hand side, we have our web application, and on the left-hand side, we have an iOS simulator running our iOS app. If we look here, we have some pagination going on. We can also search. So let's just say we search for Dogecoin, and we click to view it. We can see that we get information about it. We get the image, the name, the symbol. We also get some social media icons or links. We get a description about the cryptocurrency and then all the different exchanges. And if you click one of the different exchanges, you can see that it will take you to it and you can go ahead and trade it. So we have the exact same thing going on since it's the exact same code in the app. So we could search for Dogecoin. And if we scroll down a little bit, see we have it here. We can view it. We get all the exact same information and all the exchanges that we can trade it on, and we can even click on it in here and it will open up a browser and take us exactly to that page. So like I said, since this was an hour long, I wanted you to know exactly what we're going to be building and exactly what you're getting into when we start coding this out. So let's start coding. First thing you're going to want to do if you don't already have it installed is install Node.js. So if you don't have it installed, go ahead and pause the video here and come back once that's finished. Once you have it installed, we're going to go ahead and install the Quasar CLI. Now to do that, all you got to do is open up a terminal and run npm install -g for global at Quasar/CLI. Now I already have it installed, so I'm not going to do it. And also, if you are on a Mac, since we are doing this globally, you will have to put sudo in front of this and type in your password. So like I said, I already have this installed, so I'm not going to run that. So go ahead and pause the video here and wait for that to install. Once that's installed, we're going to create our project. Now to do that, I'm going to cd into my desktop directory, because that's where I want the project to live. And I'm going to run Quasar create crypto-app. And then it's going to ask you what you want your project name to be. You can just hit enter. It's going to ask you the project product name. So we're just going to say cryptocurrencies. It's going to ask you what author you want to put on this. I'm just going to use myself. And then it's going to ask you to pick your CSS processor. I'm going to pick Sass with SCSS syntax. And then it's going to ask us what features we want to include inside of our project. And all I'm going to do is choose Axios and hit enter. I'm going to choose prettier here for the ESLint preset. And then it's going to ask if you want to install dependencies. And I'm just going to say yes with npm. And once this is finished installing, I will be right back. And now that the project has finished building, what I've done is opened it in Visual Studio Code. So the first thing we're going to do is start a development server. And to do that, I'm going to open a new terminal in Visual Studio Code and run the following command, Quasar dev. And now that that's finished building, it's opened up a new window inside of my browser, and we see we have a boilerplate Quasar application. So it comes with a nav bar, we've got a nav drawer, and a basic page, and a little button over here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna resize this and put this over here. And the first thing we're going to do is adjust the layout here. So if we go into src layouts and go to this main layout file, we see that we have our Q toolbar up here inside of the Q header. And what I want to do is I want to get rid of this button. We will keep the toolbar title and we will name it cryptocurrencies. And then we're going to go ahead and get rid of this div over here, which is displaying the Quasar version. I'm also going to go ahead and just get rid of this drawer we have here. And we will leave the page container. And since we got rid of the drawer, we don't need the essential link anymore. So we'll go ahead and get rid of this linked list. And we'll also get rid of that essential link in the components, and we can actually just delete the components straight out. And this is using Vue 3's composition API. We won't be using it in this tutorial, so we can go ahead and get rid of this setup method. And then what I want to do down here at the bottom, we're going to go ahead and save this first actually. So now we see we just have our plain nav bar with no drawer and no button over here. And then we have our Quasar page. And what I want to do is add some cool styling here. I want to add like a frosted glass look. So I'm going to create a style tag down here. And I'm going to go ahead and paste some styling in here, and we'll explain what it's doing. So go ahead and paste it in there. So what this is doing is it's giving a backdrop filter that's going to blur things out, a background color, and a color for the text. And it's going to mimic sort of like a frosted glass look. So we're going to take this and copy it. And we're going to come up here to the header, and I'm just going to give it that class. And now we see that our header has changed colors. Now the last thing I want to do inside of the layout is give it a footer. So right underneath this Q page container, we're going to create another tag and call it Q footer. Inside of the Q footer, we're going to make a Q toolbar. And then inside of that, we're going to make a div, and we're going to give this div a class of flex center to center this text we're about to put in here. And I'm just going to put in crypto app diligent dev. And then up here on the Q footer, I am also going to give this a class of frosted glass. Go ahead and save that. And we see we have that down here now, but it's not exactly how I want it to look. And that's because we need to give this a Q toolbar title. And then we're just going to take this, stick that in there, hit Alt-Shift-F to format that. And I'm actually going to take this down on a new line because it didn't format it how I wanted it to. And save it. And now we have a nice footer displaying on the page. And now that we have our layout all set up, what we can do is work on getting the actual data that we're going to display into our project. And the way we're going to do that is by using the CoinGecko API. This is completely free and there's no keys required. There are some plans, but the free plan allows you to make 50 requests a minute, so it should be more than enough. So what we're going to do is go to explore the docs. And what we're looking for is a call to get all cryptocurrencies. So if we keep going down, we see that there is this coins and a coins list. So that's what we're going to be using to grab a list of all cryptocurrencies. Now, when we first created our project, we selected that we wanted to include Axios. So what it did, or what Quasar does, is they create these things called boot files, and they're basically files that get injected into the application when it's first built. So if we go in here and we go to src boot, we see we have this Axios file. Now what I'm going to do is just go through here. You can read through these comments. It'll give you a good idea of exactly what's going on inside of these boot files, but I'm just going to go ahead and remove all of this for now. And I'm also going to remove this Axios right here, this global properties. And what we're going to do is come up here to where we create our Axios instance, and we're going to replace that with the actual CoinGecko API base URL. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy it from the docs and paste it right in there. So we have api.coingecko.com/API-/version 3. Then if we look down here, essentially what this is doing is it's injecting a plugin called API, so we can access this from any of our Vue files, and it's setting it to our Axios instance so that we can make our calls inside of our Vue files. So now let's actually make the request to get all of the cryptocurrencies. So what we'll do is we'll head into src, we'll go to pages, and we'll go to index.vue. In here, to hold all of our coins, we're going to make a data prop in the export default. And we'll make a property inside of here called coins, and we'll set it to an empty array. Underneath that, we'll make a created property, and this is a view lifecycle hook. We're going to make this asynchronous, and this is a lifecycle hook that fires when the page is created. And this is where we'll make our request. So inside of this, we're going to do a try catch. And inside of the try block, we're going to say const res equals await this dot $API. And that's what we just set up in that boot file. Get coins/list. And then we're going to check if the status is 200. So we'll say res.status is equal to 200, not 300. And we'll do a ternary operator here. And if that's true, we'll say this.coins is equal to res.data, or else we'll just display an alert and say there was an error fetching the coins. Hit Alt-Shift-F to format that, and then I'm just going to copy this alert out of here. And if there is an unexpected error, we'll also display that. So what I'm going to do is, before we save it, I'm going to open up the DevTools, and I'm going to go to the Network tab, and then we'll go ahead and save this because I want to see the actual request fire off and see what kind of data we get back. And it looks like we got a 200 back. And if we look at the response, there is what looks like some good data in here. We have an ID, a symbol, and a name for each cryptocurrency that CoinGecko has in their database. So let's go ahead and close out of this. And then what I'm going to do is just remove this image out of here as well. And then we can start on the display of all the cryptocurrencies. Now, the CoinGecko API returns over 11,000 different cryptocurrencies. So we can't and we shouldn't load those all into the DOM at the same time because it'll lead to a bad user experience and it will really make the DOM sluggish or the browser sluggish. So what we're going to do is use a table, a Q table from Quasar, and we're going to use their grid style to make some really nice looking cards so it doesn't particularly look like a standard table that you would have. So in order to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to view source, and I'm just going to copy everything inside of this template. We'll come back, and we're just going to go ahead and paste it in there. Now let's go ahead and change some things here. The first thing we're going to need to change is the rows property, and we're going to set that to our coins. Next, we're going to make a columns prop down here inside of our data. Say columns, and that's going to be set to an array, and we'll add an object inside of here. We're going to say name is set it to name, align set to center, label equal to name, and field equal to name as well. I'm going to hit Alt-Shift-F to format this. I'm going to take this column down on another line and just copy it. We're going to name this symbol. Keep the align center, make the label symbol, and also make the field symbol. So now if we scroll back up to the top, you'll see that we have this filter. And what we need to do here is this is going to give us some search functionality right out of the box so people can search for different cryptocurrencies without us having to really do anything except add a Q input to the table as well. And to get this working, all we need to do is come down here and right below columns, I'm just going to set filter equal to a blank string and hit Alt-Shift-F to format everything. And that should get rid of our arrows. And I'm just going to hit save so we can see what it looks like. And we see now we have some cryptocurrencies in here, 11,589. We have a nice records per page property that we can set.
Treats doesn't really make much sense, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of the title. And up here on the Q page, I'm just going to get rid of these classes so it's not centered directly. And now if we take a look, we have the name, the symbol, we can search for different cryptocurrencies. So let's just say we search for like Dogecoin, and you can see we have those, and we can determine how many records we want to display. So if we wanted to do like 20, we could display 20 of them on here, and everything's looking really good so far. But even though it's looking really good, I think we can make it look even better. So what we're gonna do is underneath this template, we're gonna create another template. We're going to give it a vSlot, set to the item, and props. Go ahead and close that. Inside of this template, we're going to create a div. We're going to give it a class of QPA, Q-PA, -XS, another class of COL-XS-12, another class of COL-SM-6, and one more class of COL-MD-4. And what those are going to do is make sure that it looks good on every single screen size. So what I'm doing is I'm setting some columns here. If it's extra small, we're going to take the full width. If it's small, we're going to take half width. And if it's a medium screen, we're going to take up 33% with each column. Inside of here, we're going to add a Q card. Inside of this Q card, we're going to do a Q card section. Inside of here, we're going to do a span and give it a class of text-86. And we will do some interpolation, and we will do props .row.name. And up on this Q card section, we are going to give this a class of text center. Now below this Q card section, we're going to add a Q separator. Below this, we'll add another Q card section. Section. And then inside of this Q card section, it's like props.row.symbol. And for this Q card section up here, let's give it some classes. We'll say class equals flex center. And then we'll give it a style, and we'll set the font size equal to 44 pixels. Below that, we'll do some Q card actions. We will also give this a class equal to flex center. Inside of here, we'll do a Q button. It's BTN. We'll give it a size of large, color equal to primary. Label will be view. We need to get out of this. Label of view. And on click, let's set this to navigate, or just nav to crypto details. And we'll pass the props.row.id. And then since we added that, we need to make a method for that down here. So underneath our created, we'll make a methods property. And we'll make that nav to crypto details. And we'll give it the ID. And then what we're going to do is we're going to navigate to another page that we're going to create. So we'll say this.router.push, and we're going to put in an object here. We'll say name is equal to crypto details. And then we'll give it some params because we're gonna have to pass the ID of the coin. So we'll say ID, and that's it. So if we go ahead and save this, we see now we have our different cryptocurrencies in a nicer looking card. We have the actual name of the cryptocurrency, and this looks a little big to me. So what I'm gonna do is scroll up here. Let's do like 34 pixels and see what that looks like. I think that looks a little bit better. And now that we have that, I want to set some properties here. I don't think 5 is a great initial records per page. So we'll scroll up here underneath this hide header. I'm gonna add a pagination property. We're gonna set this to an object, and we'll say rows per page, and we'll set that to 12. Go ahead and save it. And now we see that we have 12 items per page, and that frosted glass look that we gave it, you'll see it now. It kind of looks like a little blurred out, sort of like a frosted glass look to both of our header and our footer, which looks really good to me. And then I really don't want the user to be able to display all of them. I don't even want them to be able to display 50. So we're gonna set another property up here. We're gonna say rows per page options, and we're also going to set this to an object. And inside of here, I'm sorry, we're not going to set it to an object, we're going to set it to an array. Inside of here, we'll say 12, 24, 48, and we'll let them do 96. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. And if we scroll back down, we see that the maximum amount of cryptocurrencies we're going to allow them to view on the page is 96. So we see here all the different cryptocurrencies. If we put 96 on the page, and it looks like some of them have really, really long, these are very, very odd cryptocurrencies. So I think we need to give this a class of text center to make it look a little bit better. So we'll say text center here. And let's see what those look like if we put 96 on the page again. All right, those look a lot better to me. So now that we have our main page displaying all the cryptocurrencies, let's go ahead and work on the crypto details page. So to do that, we're gonna go to our file explorer, src, pages. I'm gonna create a new file and call this crypto details.view. I'm going to put the base Vue file code in here. I like to also put the define component, so I'm going to import that from Vue. And I'm just going to wrap this right here. Now I'm going to add a data property. And in here, we're going to put details. And it looks like I made a typo up top. And we're just going to set that to undefined. Next, we're going to go, we'll save that, and then we'll go over to our router and into the routes file. And underneath this children right here, let's go ahead and just copy this, put it down there. We will change the path to crypto details. And then we're going to pass in an ID. So we'll do :ID, and we will change the component that we're importing to our crypto details .vue file. And I'm also going to name this route. I like to name routes, and that way, if you ever change the path, it doesn't matter to the Vue router as long as you specify the name of the route instead of the actual path. So we'll just call this crypto details. If I can spell. There we go. We'll go ahead and save that. Then we'll head back over to our crypto details page. And I'm going to tap into the created lifecycle hook so that we can make our call to grab the details about the specific coin when we first create the page. So we'll make this async since we're going to be making a call. And we'll say const ID equals this dot route dot params dot ID. And then we're going to check to see if we have the ID. So I'm going to say if ID is falsy, we're going to alert no ID specified. Please try again. And we're just going to go ahead and return. Then below that, we'll go ahead and make our call. So we'll say const res equals await this dot $API dot get. And we'll do a backtick so we can do some string interpolation. And we'll say coins slash $ brackets ID that we passed in. So that'll get the details of the specific coin. And then we'll say res dot status is equal to 200, not 299. And we're going to do a ternary operator. We'll say this dot details equals res dot data, or else we'll just alert. Well, we have to make this a string. There was an error fetching the coin. And what I want to do is actually wrap this entire thing in a try catch, just in case we get an error. So we'll take all that code and we'll stick it up in the try block. And then I'll take this alert. And if we get an unexpected error, we'll just put it there. Alt-Shift-F to format everything. And then we'll go ahead and save. Now, if we click on one of these buttons, it should redirect us to the crypto details, and doesn't look like it did. So let's open up the console and see what kind of an error we got. No matching route for crypto details. So when we push into it, let's go find that. We actually did it with a capital C. So let's save that and we'll close this down and go back. And I'm going to actually leave that open because I want to see the actual network request. Hit view. We see that it went out and made the network request. And inside of our response, it looks like we're getting some good data back inside of here. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down.
And next, let's work on the crypto details layout. So what we're going to do for this, since there's going to be a lot going on the screen, we're going to create a couple different components that we can use to pass data into to keep our crypto details page looking pretty clean. So to do that, we're going to head over to our file explorer. I'm going to come up to components. We can get rid of this essential link since we're not using it anymore. And I'm going to create a new component called crypto details header.view. And inside of this file, we're going to display the image of the cryptocurrency, the name, and the symbol. So I'm going to type vbase and get all my boilerplate Vue code in here. I'm also going to import define components. So import define components from Vue. And then I'm going to take this and we're just going to wrap this with it. Now we're going to be passing in some props to this, but first let's name it. So we'll just name it crypto details header. And then we'll pass in some props. And the first one is going to be an image, and we're going to make it a type of string, and it's going to be required. And then all I'm going to do is take this and paste it. And the next thing we're going to pass in is the name, and then we're also going to pass in the symbol. Up here in the template, we will keep this div. We'll give it a class of row. Then we'll come down here and we'll make another div. We'll give it a class of COL, flex, and flex center to center everything. Inside of this, we will make a Q image. and we will bind to the source, and the source will be the image that we're passing in the props. And then we'll give this a width of 50 pixels because we don't want it to take up a bunch of the screen. And then we'll do a span, and we'll give this span a class of text h3 q-pt-md. That's going to give it some padding to the top. And let me go back here and put a period there. And then we'll also do q-pb-md. And then we'll come in here, and that's what that class is going to do, is give it some padding on the bottom. And then we'll pass in the name and dash symbol. Alt-Shift F to format everything. And I'll get rid of that so we can take a good look at it. And everything's looking good. I'm going to get rid of the style tag because we're not passing any custom styles to it. So let's go to our crypto details page. On this div, we're going to say v-if details, so we don't try to render anything to the screen if we don't have the data for it. And then let me close this down. We're going to make a components prop above the data and pass in our crypto details heading. And then what we need to do is put comma there, and we need to import that. So we're going to import, I'll just copy and paste this, ... to get to the root directory, components / crypto details heading .view. And we'll go ahead and put this up here. So we'll say crypto details heading, and we'll pass in all of our props. So we'll do the image, and the image is going to be set to details.image.small. We'll also pass in the name, will be details name, and symbol will be details .symbol. Alt-Shift F to format that. I'm going to go ahead and save everything. And what do we got here? Let's see, what did we name that? Oh, we named it header instead of heading. So what I'm going to do, actually it looks like I just misspelled everything here or used the wrong naming. So that, and that, and we'll do that. And we'll change this to header. Now we'll go ahead and save everything. I'm still failing. So now, and I see what happened. I actually saved that Vue file inside of our CSS folder. So let's just move that up there. So we should be good now. And let's find a good coin. Let's say like Cardano. That should have a bunch of good information. And we see we have the image of the cryptocurrency, the name, and the symbol. So the next thing we're going to work on is some social media link buttons that will display right underneath the title here. So to do that, we're going to create another component. And we're going to call this crypto details social media links. Actually, let's call it buttons.view. I will type vbase to get all that good stuff in there, and then I will import define components from Vue, and I'm just going to wrap the export default object in it. We will give it a name equal to crypto details social media buttons. And then we will give it some props. And what we're going to pass in here will be the Facebook username. That will be of type string. and it will be required. And what I'm going to do is just copy and paste this twice. And this one will be Twitter username. And then Reddit comes through as a link. So we're just going to say Reddit link. Then up here in the template, we will give this a div class of row. We're going to do another div. We'll do COL flex dash center to center everything very nicely. And then we're going to do a Q button. We're going to give this a type of A, which will make it like a regular Ahref link. We're going to give it a color equal to primary. We're going to give it a class, and we're going to set this equal to QMRMD. So that will give it some margin on the right-hand side. We're going to set the href, and we're going to set this to https facebook.com/$ Facebook username. And what I need to do here is give this some backticks so we get some text interpolation. There we go. And we're going to give it a target equal to __ blank. And let's close this down so we get a better look at it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste this. So we're going to give this a color of blue, and we're going to give this a color of black. Everything should stay the same, except here we're going to do twitter.com and give it the Twitter username. And then here we can just go ahead and back everything out since this is an actual link and just put Reddit link in here. And what we need to do now is inside of each of these buttons, we'll put a Q icon. We will give this one a class equal to Q-PR to give it some padding right small. And we're going to give this a name equal to MDI-Facebook. And if you're wondering where I'm getting these from, these are material design icons, and I will leave a link to it in the description below. Now, in order to get these icons into our project, we need to go to the File Explorer. Let's go down to the Quasar config. And then right here in extras, you see this MDI-V5. We're going to comment that out, or comment that back in. So these are all the icons that come preloaded, and you can determine whether or not you want to use them by uncommenting out each icon package. So let's go back to our social media buttons. So we've got our Facebook icon, and then we're just going to type Facebook right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this, and we're going to paste this into each button. So for this one, obviously we don't want to use Facebook. We're going to use Twitter, and we'll do Twitter here. And then for this one, we'll do Reddit. So we'll say Reddit and Reddit. I'm going to go ahead and just save everything right now. Head back to crypto details, and we need to import this component. So all I'm going to do is just grab this and paste it down in here. We'll say crypto detail social media buttons. That there. And we'll also import the components. And then right below this, I'm going to do a Q separator. If I can type, there we go. And then underneath that, I'll do the crypto details buttons. All right, now we need to pass in the props. So for this, we're going to do the Facebook username, and that's going to be set equal to details.links.facebook_username. Do the Twitter username equal to details.links dot Twitter screen name. And then we'll do Reddit link equal to details dot links dot subreddit underscore URL. So let's just go ahead and save that. And now we see we have all of our buttons here. It looks like we need to put a little bit of a padding or margin up here. So we'll come back to here, and on this row, I'll just do Q padding top LG. And I messed something up. Z, there we go. All right, cool. So now we have that, and I'd like to get a little bit of padding, more padding top on this. So let's go back to the crypto heading, and on this row, we'll also do a QPT large. All right, cool. That looks great. So let's just test these links out and make sure that they work. So we have that. Twitter, and Reddit. So those all look great right now. But before I forget, we should probably go back to the social media icons or the buttons and put a VIF on all of them. So let's just say VIF, Facebook username. When these do come back without a link, they just come back as null. So doing a VIF on each one of these should be fine. And we see now that Facebook is missing because Cardano does not have an official Facebook page. So we're going to add a couple more things. Some things we're going to add straight to the crypto details page itself because there's no sense in making a component for something so small. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to display the description underneath our social media buttons. So down here, we'll create a div. I'm going to give it a class of row and padding top. Or we need a QPT large to give it some padding top. Then inside of this, we're going to give it a div with a class of COL. And then we're going to make a paragraph tag. We're going to give it a VHTML. And we're going to set that to details.description. And I'm going to use the English description. And we're going to go ahead and save that. And we see now we have the description. For this details page, what I'm going to do, since you see this is going right up to the edge, is we're going to wrap everything in a Q page. So we'll take everything inside of this div and put it up here. And then we're going to put an attribute on this page called padding. Go ahead and save that. And you see now everything looks a lot better. It's not driven straight up to the edge of the screen. The next thing we're going to do is display some exchanges that are returned. So in order to do that, I'm going to create another div underneath this one. I'm going to give it a class of row. Then I'm going to do another div with a class of call. And inside of that, I'm going to give it an h4 and say exchanges. So if we scroll down, we see that now. And what I want to do with this is display a bunch of exchanges underneath this where you can actually trade the selected cryptocurrency. Now, in order to do that, we're going to make some cards. So we'll go over to our components folder and we're going to make a new file called crypto exchange card.vue. I will type vbase to get the boilerplate in there. And then I'm going to import the defined components. We'll give this a name of crypto detail exchange card, or not crypto detail, just crypto exchange card. And then we're going to pass in some props. The props will be ticker. We're going to make the type an object and required equal to true. And then underneath that, we'll also make another property. So I'm just going to copy this one and paste it down here. And we'll call this change in last 24 hours. This will be a number, and it will also be required. Up in the template, we're going to replace the div with a Q card. We're going to give it a class equal to Q, MA, MD, and Q, PA, SM to give it some margin and padding around the card. We're going to do a Q card section. Inside the Q card section, we're going to do a div with a class of text h4. And inside of here, we're going to do ticker.market.name. Let me go ahead and close this down so we can get a better look here. We're also going to create another div. We're going to give this one a class of text h6. In here, we're going to say trust. Now, the API does return some sort of a trust metrics on these different exchanges. So we're just going to go ahead and display a Q avatar. We're going to give it a size equal to small. And we're going to give it a color equal to ticker.trust underscore. And it looks like I have a little bit of a typo there. So that looks good. Now what the avatar is going to do is going to give us a small circle, and then the color will be the trust score. And I believe it's either red, orange, or green. Underneath that, we'll do a Q separator. We'll do another Q card section. We'll give it a div with a class of column, flex center. Inside of this, we'll do another div with a class of text h4. We'll do another Q icon. We will give it a name. And the name will be equal to, we'll do a ternary expression here. And we'll say change in last 24 hours is greater than 0. We will do a trending up icon, else we'll do a trending down. And we can't wrap this in double quotes. And then we'll do a color on this as well. And we'll also take a look at the last 24 hours. It looks like I have some sort of a typo here. Because of this. Then we'll do a color, and we'll do about the same scheme with this. So I'll just paste that in there. I'm going to format this. And instead of trending up and trending down, we're going to do green and red. And we'll do a size equal to 24 pixels. And we'll go ahead and close that. And right below that, we'll do $, some text interpolation, and we'll do ticker.last. Then we'll do another div with a class equal to text h5 and Q PT. Give it some padding top, MD. And inside of here, we'll say volume. And we'll set that equal to ticker volume dot to fixed. So it only goes out to 2 decimal places of 2. And then right below this Q card section, we'll do Q card actions. And inside of here, we'll do a Q button. We'll give it a type equal to a color equal to primary, size of large, href equal to ticker.trade underscore URL, targets equal to underscore blank, and we'll make it flat. So there won't be much of a button. It'll just be text, and then we'll say trade. Alt-Shift F to format this. We'll go ahead and save this. We'll head back to our crypto details page. Now, the tickers that I want to grab are going to be only the USD tickers. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is come down here on this details page, and I'm going to create a computed property. And inside of here, I'm just going to say USD tickers. I'm going to return this.details.tickers.filter. Pass in the ticker. And ticker.target is equal to USD. So basically what I'm doing is I'm creating an array and filtering that array just based on the ticker.target, which is the target's fiat currency, which is going to be USD. So now what we can do is we can head up here, and right underneath this exchanges div, we're going to say div. We're going to give it a class of row. Then we're going to do another div. We're going to give it a class of COL MD-4 COL-SM6 and COL-XS. We need to put a dash in there of 12. So what this is going to do is if we have a medium-sized screen, it's going to take up 4 columns of the 12 columns we have available. A small screen will take up 6 of the 12, and an extra small screen will take up 12 of 12. Then underneath that, we're going to say V4, and I'm going to say ticker index in USD tickers, and I'm going to give it a key equal to the index. Now in each one of these, we're going to pass in a crypto details card or crypto exchange card. We're going to give it a ticker equal to ticker, and also change in last 24 hours, or change last. I forget what we've named that. Change in last 24 hours is going to be equal to details.market underscore data dot price change 24H. So it doesn't like this USD tickers, and that's because I didn't put an S on the end of it. So let's just go ahead and save this and see what happens. All right, so if we scroll down, we are not getting our cards. So that might be because I never imported the cards. So let's import crypto exchange card from, and we'll just go ahead and copy and paste this so I don't make any typos. Okay, let's see if they showed up. All right, so they do. So we have each exchange that we could trade them on. We have the trust score here, and I believe that's tied to the exchange. We have the current rate that it's going for, the current volume. I think this is in the last 24 hours. And then we could go ahead and trade. And if we do that, we see that takes us to Coinbase. This would take us to Kraken, and everything's loading very slowly, but there's Kraken. What I'd like to do is actually center this trade button. So let's go back to the exchange card. Let's look what we got here. Card actions. I think if I give this a class of flex and flex center, it should center that, and it does. So now if we go ahead and take a look, we've got our image, the name of the cryptocurrency, the symbol, We have our social media buttons. We also have a nice description of it. This is returned in HTML. That's why we use the VHTML attribute on that. If we click on that, it looks like it's taking us to CoinGecko. These things. And it's taking us to CoinGecko and a link from that. So let's go ahead and head back. Unfortunately, those are not going to open in a new tab, but overall, everything's looking good. Now, one thing we're going to have to account for is that when we deploy this to a mobile app, we're not going to have the convenience of just hitting the back button in the browser that would take us back to the different cryptocurrencies. What we're going to need is a physical back button on the screen. So right now, I would not like it to display, but if we were to dig into a specific cryptocurrency, it would be nice if we had some sort of back button up here that looked like that we'd be able to navigate back. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our layouts. We're going to go to the main layout. We're going to go to the Q toolbar, and before the title, we're going to add a Q button. And this button is only going to display if we are on the details page. So we're going to say vif route.path.includes details. We're going to make it flat. We're also going to make it round. We're going to give it an icon equal to MDI-chevron left. And when we click on it, all we're going to do is have the router.go, and we're just going to go back one page. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And you see now we have this nice little back button. And if we click it, it takes us back to the cryptocurrency screen and it disappears. So if we go into another cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, and I don't see it, let's just click into a random one here. We see it comes back and allows us to get back to our main screen. And the last thing I want to do before we actually create our mobile apps is I want to give it a nice animation for the page transitions. So what we're going to do is I'm going to open up a new terminal and I'm going to install a package once it loads up here called animate.css. So npm I animate.css. And now that that's done, we're going to come down here to our script and I'm just going to import it. And then up here inside of our Q page container, we're going to wrap this in a transition. So let's just go ahead and get the router in there. On this transition, we're going to give it a mode of in-out. I'm going to make an enter active class equal to animate _animated or animate _slide in left. And all I'm going to do is put this on a new line. And then we're going to have an enter or leave active class. I'm just going to paste this, put it in here. And instead of slide in left, we're going to do slide out right. And I need to do that with a lowercase t. Let's go ahead and save that. And now if we click on one, it slides in and then that slides back in. So it gives it more of like an animated feel like you're actually on a mobile phone. So if we were to look at this on, let's say like an iPhone, and we start clicking around and things, it looks like it's sliding in sort of like an iPhone slides in and slides back out to give it more of a polished look. Now that we have our web app all built out, we can add the mobile version so we can deploy to the iOS and Android stores. Now to add these, we're first going to add the Ionic runtime called Capacitor, and this is going to allow you to build for a native device and also tap into native features. To do this with the Quasar CLI, open up a terminal and type Quasar mode add capacitor. And then it's going to ask you for an ID. Now, typically this is the reverse of your domain and then the name of your application. So I'm going to do com.diligentdev.crypto app. And not a slash, but a dot. There we go. And you'll see now it has started building out a new file called, or new folder called src capacitor. Now, in order to run this on an Android phone, we're going to run the following command in the terminal. Quasar dev-m capacitor dash uppercase. I spelled capacitor wrong. Dash uppercase T Android. And spelled Android wrong. So now it's installing all the Android dependencies, and it's going to do some other things and build the project, and then it's going to open Android Studio, and I will be right back once it's done doing that. Okay, so after that built, it went ahead and opened Android Studio. Once Android Studio opened, I went ahead and ran the app. You can run it up here. You may have to set up a device with their AVD manager, but you'll be able to run it. I'll leave some links that will help you out if you're having any issues with that. So if we take a look at it down here, we see that we have our app. Everything is looking pretty good. There are some issues with our styles up here, but I'm not gonna go and try to fix those at the moment, but you can see it's running on an Android emulator. If we click on a specific cryptocurrency, it goes down into that cryptocurrency, and then we can go back from it. We can search for different ones, like let's say Dogecoin. And we can go into that. I lost it. There it is. And we see that we have everything that we had set up in our web application, but now it is running inside of an Android device. So now that we've run it on an Android device, let's try running it on an iOS device. So to do that, we can run the same exact command, Quasar dev-m capacitor-t, except instead of Android, we're going to run iOS here. So let's go ahead and run that. And then what it's going to do is it's going to install all of our iOS dependencies, build the project, and then open Xcode. It is worth saying that you will need a Mac to build an iOS app. You cannot do it on a Windows machine. And once this is done building, I will be right back. Okay, so it's built the iOS project. All we need to do is run it on an emulator. So this is Xcode that it has opened after it got done building, and all we have to do is hit play. And then what it's going to do is build in here. Okay, so I had to cut the video because the build process was taking so long. This is actually running on a 2015 MacBook Pro. Unfortunately, the screen recording software is not compatible with the new M1 chips, so I can't do it on my normal development machine. But nonetheless, we have it displayed here, and you can see that the styling looks a lot better on this. It's picking up on our frosted glass styling, and it's running inside of a iPhone 13 Pro Max. And let's get rid of that. And let's search for Dogecoin again. And we see we can get in there, and we have all of the information, and everything is looking really good. Now back in the web project, I'm just going to close this down because it's taking up too many resources. You'll see that we're getting an error. To get rid of this error, all we need to do is run npm install inside of a terminal, and we'll go ahead and reload this. And possibly what we need to do is just kill our server and then go ahead and launch it again. And now we see that the error is gone. It just needs to rebuild and know that capacitor has been added to the project. So to recap, we were able to build a web application, an Android app, and also an iOS app. and get them running on emulators. So that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about this video, please leave a comment in the comment section below, and be sure to subscribe and like the channel to see more content like this.